The MAGA rift continues over Israel, Iran, and the neocons versus the non-neocons, whatever that means at this point. But it means a lot to Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, that's for sure. So Rapid Response 47 tweets out this piece of video from Witkoff decrying the neocon elements within the administration pushing for war.
Con element believes that war is the only way to solve things. And the president believes that his force of personality, the way he is going to respond to situations, can bend people to do things in a much better way in the interest of the United States government. And I believe in that, too.
Okay, well, you know who took great offense to that is Mark Levin, the longtime radio host. By the way, neocon is a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable. Who has ever said that? That is just completely
they're trying,
from outer space.
They're trying to push. No, he's not the only one saying that. They're trying to push that idea into the mainstream so that they can't be criticized for their foreign policy.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all of a sudden. No, I mean, Douglas Murray kind of hinted at that when Dave Smith brought up Paul Wolfowitz. He's like, whenever somebody brings up Wolfowitz, I wonder why they singled him out.
This is definitely something they're trying to inject into the conversation.
Right, exactly. So readers added context to Mark Levin's tweet. Neocon, short for neoconservative, is a term for a political philosophy focused on active foreign policy to spread liberal democracy. While many neocons have been Jewish, nowhere near all have been. In fact, the most influential ones have not been, like George Bush, Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney's as white as deviled eggs.
Yeah, right, exactly. And you see here, Mark Levin took a pretty bad ratio on that, 1.9K in the like column, 3.6K in the comment column, including some high-profile detractors. Mike Ben says, Mark, don't do this, man. You don't help anyone who cares about the same issues you do when you throw out this kind of lazy reductionist charge like this. The Hodge twin says, neocon got nothing to do with being Jewish. Not everything is anti-Semitic. Even one of his longtime fans, Wade Miller, says, I'm a longtime fan, but it's absolutely nonsense that neocon is a pejorative for Jew. I've been using that term for 30 years, and it's never been about Jews, and I don't know anyone who uses it that way in D.C. Don't be woke with this clear nonsense. Yes, they are, of course, the woke right.
I mean, it's just amazing because the logic, the formulations of these people is wokeness. I mean, it truly is the woke right. The idea, the way, oh my God, it drives me crazy. The way they would try to rule a conversation out of bounds by changing the underlying meaning of a word. Right. That's exactly what they're doing. And well, you can't talk about it because now it's you're anti-Semitic if you say it. I mean, it's the wokest shit you could imagine, and that they've been screaming about for years, and they've just embraced the same exact logic. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, it's the exact same tactic. The exact same tactic.
Well, and it's the same underlying belief. I say, like, what's come to be defined as woke, you call it critical theory. It's very religious because you cannot get out of their inquisitions because it assumes original sin.
Right.
It assumes sin in the human heart. If you deny it, it's proof of your guilt, just like an inquisition, right? The more you deny it, the more sin you have inside you. So everyone's anti-Semitic.
Right. So Tucker Carlson reacted to this. Now, he had Dave Smith on his show, and Mark Levin came up. So we'll see some of Levin's tweets that Tucker responds to, which Levin really did not take kindly to.
Neocon is a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable. And this is in response to Witkoff saying, quote, the neocon element believes that war is the only way to solve things. So you have Mark Levin calling Steve Witkoff an anti-Semite.
Right. And again,
we've reached peak crate. I mean, I think Witkoff is Jewish, right?
Again, but it's I don't even know. But again, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
He's American and he's on the side of peace, and so I'm for that guy.
Oh boy, Levin
neocon is
did not like that. He did not like that. So now he goes off even more. Mark Levin went off on Tucker Carlson, called him a schmuck, and warned him, don't screw with me, you little bastard. His comments followed an episode of Tucker Carlson in which the guest Dave Smith said Levin had accused the Trump administration of anti-Semitism. Levin refers to Tucker Carlson as Chatsworth Osborne Jr. throughout his rant, a reference to Rush Limbaugh's nickname for Carlson. Yeah, was he paying tribute to Rush Limbaugh, or was he ripping off Rush Limbaugh? Because yes, Rush Limbaugh did refer to him as Chatsworth Osborne Jr., character from one of the 60s TV shows. I forget the name of it, but bow tie, nerdy hair, ha, very original, very cool. So let's take a listen to some of Levin's rant, which I edited for time because it was quite long.
So a schmuck picks a fight with me. Doesn't call me. He's got this sidekick, sort of I don't even know who this guy Smith is. Or was his guest? He's not like an Ed McMahon figure or something? I don't know why all these big-time smart hosts always have to have a sidekick or somebody, or a guest.
He literally has an interview show.
I guess that's what they need. They need a guest, unlike me. I
guess just because I adjusted to the fact that I have such a repulsive personality, I couldn't get someone to come on my show.
Yeah.
Means I must just be super talented. I can carry it myself.
I have such tremendous charisma, and I'm so entertaining that people just tune into this for 15 hours a week to hear me by myself rant like this with no humor, no irony, no self-awareness, no real insight. That's how good I am.
I'm no fan of the envoy.
Meaning Witkoff.
I never called him traitor.
Yeah.
I know how to say traitor, and I never called him an anti-Semite. And this is really precious.
Well, you did, though.
You did.
You did.
You said neocon's a pejorative for Jew. Like, what does that mean? You're clearly calling him anti-Semitic, obviously.
Friend, Chatsworth Osborne Jr. was brought in a conga line. A conga line. The miscreants, malcontents, and worse. In my opinion. And I say this as a red-blooded American.
He always reverts to that.
And a lot of people are getting sick and tired of this game. They're getting turned off by this.
No one is getting to. This is what I mean. Like, they're panicking because their faction of the conservative movement is fading into obscurity thanks in large part to this issue. Like, he keeps acting as if he speaks for the average Joe. You clearly don't. The numbers clearly indicate that. You're on terrestrial radio. The market's a little different. There's a lot more gatekeeping there than there is in the podcast world. But out here in the Wild West of podcasting, it's very clear. The anti-Israel right is enjoying huge numbers, and the pro-Israel right is going bankrupt. That's what's happening. So this idea
literally,
that you speak for
Daily
the
Wire,
person,
the flagship outlet of Zionist conservatism, is going bankrupt while everyone else is making a fortune in the space.
Right.
The American people do not want the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran to get a nuclear weapon. They don't want them to have missile technology where they can put a nuclear warhead on an intercontinental ballistic missile and hit the United States. And the fact that they don't want that doesn't make them a warmonger, a neocon, or anything else.
So if you watched the Misty Winston show last night, or if you didn't, we put out a clip this morning. Kyle Anzalone from antiwar.com, who was her guest, put out an article citing a poll that said 70% of the American people want a nuclear deal with Iran, meaning, of course, they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, but they do want them to pursue a civil nuclear program if that avoids a war. That is what most people want. Most people say, yes, they should be able to develop nuclear capacity, not weapons capacity, but nuclear capacity. And in exchange for that, we should call a truce and simmer things down. And what his faction, what Levin's faction of the Republican Party and the conservative movement say is, no, they should not be allowed to pursue that technology at all because that will inevitably lead to a bomb. That is completely out of step with the vast majority of the American people. The vast majority of the American people say they should be allowed to pursue a civil nuclear program and we should have peace. So again, this is just completely talking out of his ass.
It makes them patriotic Americans. That's number one. Number two, I am hoping, you are hoping, that Donald Trump figures out some kind of deal that nobody else has figured out yet, but he's capable of it, to stop them, short of war. But many of us are skeptical. Why? Because we have a brain. Because we know The Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran is a terrorist regime that has violated every piece of paper it's ever signed. That's why we're at the 11th hour. That's why Donald Trump's having to deal with it. We know what terrorism means as much as we know what neocon means. Now, people use neocon, many people, innocently. They don't know what it means. He knows what it means.
Right.
And my point to our envoy was, why are you using a word like that? Because you don't even know what it means.
I thought you just said he does
I
know
thought
what it
you
means.
just said he knows what it means.
Yeah, you're talking about I understand you got to improvise and you're on for 3 hours and you run out of things to say, but you got to keep a little bit better track of things if you're going to be picking fights like this.
And so the point was to let him know that it's a pejorative. What it's a pejorative war, and it's unbelievable that he spews it. And he'll keep spewing it, and others will too. But I don't have to pretend I'm Helen Keller, that I don't see and I don't hear, and neither do you. And neither do you. And there's a whole pattern over there with Chatsworth Osborne Jr. A whole pattern. Now, he's free to do what he wants. I believe in free speech. Go ahead, buy a subscription. Do whatever you want. It's perfectly fine by me. But don't screw with me, you little bastard, by twisting my words.
Oh, my God. All Tucker did was read your tweet.
He's a tough guy over there.
He's a big, tough guy. I mean, all Tucker did was read your tweet. Here's the video once again, the first few seconds.
As a pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable.
He literally just read what you said. Because you are so and this is you're right. This is the exact woke left tactic being adopted by now what we call the woke.
Yep.
Right. They know they're losing, and so they have to shut down the conversation with accusations of some sort of bigotry or bias. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is.
Right. And that is a classic tactic where they'll, if a word is hurting them, rule the word out of bounds. They tried to do that with woke, and they still do. But there was at one point a real full court press to claim that the term woke was racist and sexist and homophobic. The term itself was that to get you to stop using it. There's exactly that logic. Yep, no, neocon's anti-Semitic. Now we got to get neocon out of the conversation. Like, what do you think? Even if you successfully do that, you think you'll kill the idea of what that is? People will just adopt another word. Like, what's the
They'll
point?
just find something else. Exactly. Michael Tracy wrote an article saying, you know what? Maybe neocon doesn't mean anything anymore, because if you back Israel, the Israeli agenda is the neocon agenda, which is something pointed out by the judge and the jury to any intra-right feud. Alex Jones weighs in on this. Here we go.
To hear it.
He always comes in hot. Doesn't waste any time. Guy goes from 0 to 100 in a quarter of a second. That's how he makes the big bucks.
You know, in acting, one of the rules is not to come in really high.
Right.
Because then, you're not going to have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Jones can do that because he actually has a few other gears above that.
Right. Jones's amp goes to 11, as they say.
It goes to 11.
This one goes to 11.
He can come in at 10 because he has the capacity to go to 11.
That's right.
So I don't want to hear it. I speak for the Christians and Jews of America, as I played last hour. I'm Mark Levin, and we don't stand with Al-Qaeda. Well, the hell you don't. Your boss, Netanyahu, literally runs it. He's the last standing neocon with any power.
Now, that is actually a good point. That, yes, Benjamin Netanyahu is, of course, a neocon. Benjamin Netanyahu embodies the neocon foreign policy agenda that dates back in, modern parlance anyway, to the post 9/11 years, which was halfway through Netanyahu's tenure as a central figure in Israeli politics. He started representing them at the UN in 1984. So, yes, Netanyahu is a neocon. So if you back Netanyahu, you are falling in line behind the neocons, whether you call yourself that or not. It's actually a good point by Alex there. All right.
He's the last standing neocon with any power. So I don't want to hear it. Stop talking to me like I'm culturally and historically and military illiterate. I'm not, Mark. And Trump is actually pro-Israel. And he understands that Iran is going to blow it off the map, and then Israel's going to blow them off the map, and then Pakistan and India are going to have a nuclear war. And all the war games are all dead, you dumb son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You fucking megalomaniac fuckheads. And that's what Trump's told Netanyahu. A little nicer than that, but not much more, I was told.
A little nicer than that.
I mean, we're rational, sane men.
Yes, you are.
Oh,
rational,
yeah.
so,
Well, that's definitely how you read.
That definitely comes through in that. Yeah. What's with the thumbnail for this video? That or this? What do you think? It's always tough. Always tough. Alex always gives you so many options. He gives you so much to work with. You can only choose one.
See now I'm sure we're more sensitive to this because we do this for a living. I don't understand. I could get watching Alex Jones as like campy humor, like campy fun, like very entertaining. I don't get people who don't understand that this is a performance.
Right.
Of course, it's a performance. Nobody acts like that. Who
argued in court it was a performance. Yeah.
Of course, it's a performance. Like, how do you watch this and not realize it's a performance?
Yeah.
War and all the war games are all dead, you dumb son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You fucking megalomaniac fuckheads.
That's what Trump said.
Trump's told Netanyahu. A little nicer than that, but not much more, I was told.
A little nicer than that, but not much
we're
more.
Rational, sane men.
He should have sent Alex Jones to negotiate. That would have been a good negotiation. Yeah, that would have gone great. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. So look, this issue.
I'm surprised he's not in the cabinet.
Yeah, he should be in the cabinet. This issue is eating them alive. This issue is just eating the conservative movement from within, which is a positive. Obviously. You know, because this genocide started under Biden, we saw immediately the rift that it caused on the left because the Democrats had power and there were some on the left who, you know, believed in lesser evilism and thought we needed to support the Democratic ticket despite this, and some took a hard line. We didn't really see the rift on the right because for a while there, the Republicans kind of set this aside. Hey, we have an election to win. We'll talk about it later. Well, guess what? Later is here. Later is now. And we said this between Trump's victory and Inauguration Day. It's not going to be long before it becomes untenable to just ignore this and pretend this issue isn't there. This debate is going to have to play out in the conservative movement, and now it is. And it's pretty clear which side is winning at the grassroots.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, the government is not beholden to the grassroots. This is an oligarchy, and so you still have that major obstacle there. But the fact that Trump feels that tension and is trying to maneuver it in a way is enough to make guys like Mark Levin fucking explode because they're not used to that. They're not used to that. And so this is causing a lot of damage.
Well, the fact that the United States made a deal with Hamas without going through Israel, that made heads explode on that side. And it really tells you what the game is. Israel is supposed to have total control and completely dictate American foreign policy in regards to Israel. And predictably, they overplayed their hand to the point that they're getting more and more backlash from the MAGA side of the aisle. You know, now you're having Marjorie Taylor Greene come out against it. The most prominent and influential of the podcast hosts and the YouTube hosts in that space are all anti-Zionist, if not pro-Palestine. You can feel, particularly over the last few weeks, you can feel a palpable shift in the momentum against Israel. And they're not going to go down without ranting and raving like the maniacs that they are.
Yes.
Now, the question is, does the Trump administration turn around now and maybe, you know, let these students go to school?
Right. Well, yeah.
Knock it off with the deportations.
Exactly. And this is the point that we got into last time. Like, look, if you're going to do this, if you're going to shake things up a bit, you have to bring that policy back home. You can't be committing these egregious civil liberties infractions here, especially if it doesn't even, like, I mean, you shouldn't do it under any circumstances, but it's especially insulting the fact that you are starting to, I don't even want to give them enough credit to say find a backbone, because let's see what happens, right? Like, let's not buy into, oh, he said he's going to do this, right?
The smart money is never on Trump not taking Miriam Adelson's 15-inch strap-on.
Exactly. So I don't want to even go as far as to say that. I don't think that would be responsible. But the fact that there is some tension here, the fact that you are bypassing Israel at all, means that this is open for debate, which means your own people have a right to debate it without being hassled and shaken down and questioned and detained or deported. I mean, that has to change. That has to change. And the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene was able to, with the help of a few of her colleagues, Massey, a couple others, that Anna Paulina, whatever her name is, get that boycott bill spiked, that's a good sign, because that's a civil liberties issue.
Right.
So that has to be a major focus of this. It's not enough to, play out the geopolitics. You have to ease up on your own people. You have an obligation to uphold the First Amendment. And we cannot lose sight of that no matter what.
Please clap.